Everyone, it's Nancy, the nurse practitioner, with a video for you today. I hope you guys are doing well. Happy Easter for those who are celebrating. I know these videos are not they're timely in a way for me because they're parts of my life, but I also say, hey, Merry Christmas if it's Christmas time. But somebody might watch this a year from now and say, oh, it was Easter when Nancy did this. Anyway, I'm here with Jean Marie Herron. She has a wonderful company about organizing. Heron like the bird that flies over the water, which are beautiful. And the company's called Posi, right, Jean Marie?
Yes, you got it.
What does that stand for, by the way?
So POSSE is an acronym for Professional Organizing Solutions Serving Everyone. And what I like to say, my tagline is especially for those who want to sell or dwell well. So at this point in my career, I really specialize in whole home decluttering with a lot of people in major transition, and they've been in their homes for decades. So they might be getting ready to go to market and sell their house because they have new plans, whether that's a north and a south smaller home, whether that's to go and live near, an adult child somewhere or whatever their dreams are, but they're usually letting go of the big home that they've been in for a long time. And then the dwell well is for the folks who want to stay and age in place, but they want to love their home all over again. And they want to declutter and get down to truly what they love, use, and need, so that if somewhere in the future they need to do what I call move on a dime, they're ready.
So that's interesting. I have two quick stories. We actually have a hoarder in the family. And I'm actually going to put that picture of I took of a bedroom up on this channel so people could see what we're up against. I mean, the one bedroom is covered with papers, and I picked up one and it's from 2012. And I asked the woman, can I throw this out? And it was an invitation to a Valentine party. So it's a dead piece of news. And she took the paper and she put it back on the pile. And she said, no, I might need it someday. So everyone who knows me, I'm a nurse practitioner. I did house calls and I ran into all sorts of home care issues. And this was a tough one. There would be a path leading to the bedroom, a path to the bathroom. Her tub was full of soaps and she doesn't even use the tub. So the house has become her prison, so to speak. And you have to sneak stuff out at night when she's sleeping that she wouldn't know is missing. It's a real issue. But I'm also downsizing. We live at a ranch in Connecticut, and we've been living on this boat in the summer, and we're like, we don't need pictures. We don't need a lot of clothes. You find out how to be a minimalist. But my husband has like jackets from when he was 17 in the basement, and he won't part from them. And, it's like how do you deal with problems with people who, we could talk about the hoarder first, or is that something you want to save for the end?
Sure, we can go there first. Absolutely.
Okay.
So there are professional organizers who specialize in what I call chronic disorganization. And chronic disorganization is this huge umbrella. And under this umbrella, you have little spokes, if you will, that could be people with brain injuries, people with hoarding tendencies, people with ADHD. The list goes on and on about, brain-based challenges, if you will, relative to executive function that affect somebody's organizing and productivity skills. I am not one of those organizers who specializes in chronic disorganization. Will I work with people who have hoarding tendencies? Absolutely, but to my specifications. And what I mean by that is there's actually a sanitation scale. So depending on the level of sanitation, I may say, I can do this job, or I might say, no, thank you. You need the next level professional because of the sanitation or even the safety issue in
You would
terms of,
assess the situation if somebody
I
were to
would,
call
yep,
you, because I worked with
absolutely.
an elder lawyer over this person.
Inspector brings me in.
True.
Completely different scenario.
Oh, yeah.
The bottom line is, if the person doing the hoarding is interested in getting better, then I probably will take the job. If
Right.
the person is not, and just like your example, if they don't think there's anything wrong with keeping a Valentine's card from 25 years ago, there's
Yeah,
there's a reason why they're keeping it, and to try to quote unquote talk sense
yeah.
into why they shouldn't keep it. Sometimes I will work on the support team with a therapist, which I really appreciate. So that being said, every person with hoarding tendencies is very different.
And
So I'll just,
that's a different
right,
animal. I mean, from what
right,
I
right.
see from your list here, which is very, very, great. I can actually post this everyone on my Facebook page, so you get to see more what Jean Marie does, but you're local for me, right? Where are you processing?
I'm actually in
Doing?
northern New Jersey, so
Okay.
I cover the top half of New Jersey and lower Hudson Valley. And I usually like to stay within an hour. So a
Okay.
lot of
So
my
you're,
jobs are in Bergen County, Passaic County, Morris County. I tend not to go toward Hudson County as we get closer to New York City, but
yeah.
I'm really not that far from, Warwick, Greenwood Lake, New York, et cetera. So I'm
Okay.
on the border of New Jersey and New York State, not New York City.
So because it's a limited area and we're talking on YouTube here, we're
Yes.
getting into the idea of a decluttering, and that's for any age, people moving to smaller apartments, like you said, or moving to bigger spaces, but learning how to utilize their space well. And that's a real art. I tend to be a little bit of a I have a lot of arts and crafts. I have ooh, I still have
So
my I still have
we
my
all have
prom
our
dress.
passions, and we all have things that are important to us that we
Yeah.
love and we don't want to get rid of because we either love them aesthetically or we
Yeah.
love them because they're activities and hobbies and passions. Um, Everything has to do with the person's own quality of life in terms of what they believe, how much stuff they should have. Some people have small homes, some people have large homes. Doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily mean there's an issue. There's only an issue if the person living in the space feels under stress of some kind by their environment. There are plenty of people that to me would seem very, very cluttered, but they're perfectly okay. And there are other people, and I'll walk into a space and I think they're a minimalist and they think that there's way too much stuff. So,
Interesting.
everybody's comfort level is different. The way people organize is different. For the folks who are having trouble letting go, I always go back to a really, really simple question, which is, do you want the stuff or do you want the space? So in a lot of cases, you can't have both. But they tell me during my assessment, I find out what are their goals, what's working, what's not working, if there's
Yeah.
any kind of a time frame. But I actually have a 5-step methodology
Okay.
that I use in almost every scenario that I work in for a typical decluttering, if you will. So whether I am helping somebody declutter a backpack, um, a kitchen, or an entire house, it's the same. So my company is called Posi, which is POSSE,
Hmm.
and my methodology is actually SSPOE. So I won't go into too much detail, but it stands for sort, select, purge, organize, and equalize. And I teach my clients, it's not just about the transformation. I
Hmm.
can do the transformation, but I'm hoping what they want to learn when they work with me, I'm hoping they want to learn the skill set, which is what I can teach them. So if somebody grew up and they never had parents or they never had a boss or a teacher or a coach that taught them how to get organized, I do feel strongly as a professional organizer that I can teach those skills. And it comes in the SSPOE. I even present on this all the time. Like in April, I'm at the Oakland Library and the Mawa Library, and I always incorporate my space methodology when I'm teaching any kind of a decluttering class, a downsizing class, a moving class, etc.
Hmm.
Um, a lot of people will, when we start the process, they're like, oh, I get that, I do that. But when I actually put it into words, it helps solidify the experience because people can get stuck in different stages. Like somebody can easily categorize, but then they might have difficulty in making the decision. Somebody else might be able to make all the decisions, but then they get stuck trying to figure out the resources in terms of getting it out of their home. Somebody might get through the whole process, create the new homes and have their systems in place, but they're having a hard time maintaining it or equalizing it. because maybe there's other people in the house who don't respect or honor the new systems that were put into place, or they don't put things back into the homes that were created, etc.
I will tell you, I grew up in a family with 9 people, my brothers and sisters, and my mother was not very neat. And we're all kind of sloppy, I will admit. And my husband's an engineer, and he was always on time. His desk had nothing on it but the one paper of a big project he's working on. My best friend's a corporate vice president that did that, and her desk had nothing on it, like she never worked. I was a nurse, home care nurse. I had papers everywhere. I am this spread out person, and I know where my things are,
Yep.
but they're making my husband crazy. So now that we're both retired, he's like looking at my kitchen table, which has turned into a slight office. It's just, I keep trying to minimize myself
Mhm.
until he snaps at me, and then I'm like, uh-oh, gotta clean again. It's a hard thing when you have somebody on your back corner kind of supervising, it keeps me in check. But
Yes,
if you live
yes,
alone, I can see how I would pile up, not a hoarding thing, but just like, I'll get to that tomorrow. I'll do that later because I've got too many projects going.
right,
That's
right.
what my problem is. I'm involved in too many things.
Yes. So
Um,
just like our closets can get overloaded, so can our
yeah,
time. So the
yeah,
calendar is really our closet of time. So the more projects we take on, the more board positions we volunteer, client load, et cetera, et cetera. And
yeah.
everybody does organize differently. And a lot of what we may or may not do can stem from our family of origin. So, I know many people that came from very large families, and God bless the moms and dads, because
Yeah,
the mom didn't have enough time in the day because she had so many children to
yeah,
do the things that somebody who didn't have children could do. Because, you know, if you don't have time
yeah,
to be organized, then it's probably not going to be neat and tidy. And everybody's comfort level, like you said, like some people, their desk, they're comfortable with the one project, that one piece of paper. And somebody else might really like to see the multiple projects. Like somebody, for example, if you know what an old fashioned literature sorter is, like if you were going
hmm,
to an old fashioned, somebody who likes to see everything out visually so they don't forget. A
yeah.
great product for that person would be a literature sorter, because they could have all their projects in each individual cubby. And
That's a
because
cool idea.
when you put stuff away for a visual person, it might as well be completely off their plate, because now they're not going to remember unless there's a time management solution in place. So, for example, let's just say somebody took 2 books out of the library,
Mhm.
and now they're done reading the books and they need to be back at the library by April 1st. If they put the 2 books by the front door or even in their car, that's a visual reminder. Okay, next time I go out the door to run errands or I'm driving around town. Another person might be okay with leaving the books in their book pile and writing on their calendar, Saturday morning from 9 to 9:30, I'm
Mhm.
going to the library. And then they look at their time and they go, oh, Saturday morning, let me go grab those 2 books. So there's lots of ways to get somebody organized. It's really, at least for me professionally, what happens is I have to learn how they like to think and
Yeah.
how they like to see things. Does somebody like open storage, like open on bookshelves and cubbies, or they close the doors? I want everything behind cabinetry, etc. So it's really a fascinating, for me, like I love what I do. So each time I work with a new person, it's like a fresh canvas.
I get that. And I did take my crafts when my girlfriend said, oh my gosh, this is your craft room. It was the spare bedroom that just, so I bought all these boxes and home goods, and they were pretty. Some were polka dotted and some had rainbows on them, whatever. And I
Yes.
wrote ribbons and I wrote, but now it has a door, and I shut the door and I forgot what's in there. I'm like, it's like I paint on rocks and make pins for people. I make jewelry. I do knitting. I have all these things that it's like, what do you want to do today? And I forget unless I open the door and say, oh, so it's a little hard for me. It's almost like I need
Yep.
to take the door off the wall and see the
Yeah.
boxes.
Yes.
But anyway, that's my problem, everyone. We're going to talk more about how Jean Marie can help you. And also, I love your organization of the sheet. It's a lot of information, but so she talks about aging in place, and that is me at this point until we move to a smaller space. I think the other thing is when you live in a 2,200 square foot ranch home and half the rooms are never occupied, you
Mhm.
start to say, why am I here? You know, I don't, um, and actually all our couches and everything are really old. So we're like, we're just gonna put them out in the curb when we move and just start fresh. It's nice when things are from 1986, you know, in my home, and it's like we managed to sit on that and it didn't break yet. It's like,
You took
so
very good care of everything.
yeah, so you can actually let it go and say, I've seen that for too long. It's been in every Christmas picture. It's been in every.
Yes.
And then the aftermath of death or divorce, that's big because you're dealing with a lot of baby boomers.
Yes.
And there's a lot of us over 65 and we're all transitioning. Downsizing or minimizing, that is a constant problem. We have a basement as big as our house. You can
Mhm.
roller skate in it.
Mhm.
You can easily stuff that place.
Right.
Actually, we have a
Yes.
chandelier from somebody who had no place to put it.
Yes.
Bicycles and, oh, I'm like, we become like, don't bring your stuff in here. So
Right.
be careful what you have as space
Yep.
because people will take advantage of you.
Absolutely.
Evictions are really important to mention. Stop me if you want to say anything, but let's go through the list real quick because I think
Sure.
we need to know what an
Right.
organizer can
Yep.
entail.
Right.
Estate organizing and clean outs, those are really big as well. I mean,
Yeah.
this lady that's the hoarder's lived in that house since 1950. You
Right.
can imagine what's in that house.
Right.
Home office productivity, I love that. I
Mhm.
didn't think you'd go there, but it makes total sense, especially now that a lot of people are working from home and their
Right.
office has become their spare bedroom.
Right. Right.
This is
A
a
lot
big,
of, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, it's a big one because we have moved out of the corporate office into your own space.
Right.
And
Yes.
how do you shut that door at the end of the day
Yes.
and
And
leave
it used to
everything
be
behind
when
there?
we were in the corporate world, because I was in the corporate world before I became an entrepreneur.
Mhm.
And so people would see your office. So you would at least I would never leave the office without tidying up.
Yeah,
Never. Because, but now we all have home offices and we can close that door. So a lot of us don't take the extra steps at the end of a workday to say, let me put things back in their homes, let me
yeah.
get organized for tomorrow. The other thing I found as I started my professional organizing career, because I am in residential organizing, I come from the corporate world, but what I
Mhm.
was finding is that all roads lead to paper, all roads lead to information. And every home that I was in, as we did each room, finally the client would say, can you do my office? And of course. So for in my brain, space, in my brain, stuff. So, you know, whether it's an address book or a lamp, you can manage that physically, but now there's the time management component and you can manage that as well. And it's just a matter of being able to visualize where your time is going. And a lot of that happens in office productivity.
Yeah.
A lot of the other scenarios that you were painting are all many, many different kinds of projects that I do in people's homes, but
Mhm.
it really comes down to life transitions.
Yeah.
Um, and there are many folks in the world, and there's lots of people like me as well, but the folks I work tend to be the folks who, for whatever reason, didn't kind of clean up their life, if you will, as the seasons passed. So I go into many people's homes who are, say, in their 60s, for example, and the bedrooms
To me.
from their adult children are
Yeah.
still intact.
Yes.
And and
That's my
so
brother's house.
um
Like, it's
and
like a shrine. It's like,
right. But that child is out in California now with four of their own children and a
yes.
huge home. Children, and 95% of them don't want what we'd like to save for them. They're basically like, no, thank you. We like our own stuff, or it's not my style, et cetera, et cetera. I remember I was saving my wedding dress for my daughter. And then I had my first downsize and I was, you know, clearing out the attic and I said to my daughter, who was like, 20 something at the time, do you want the dress? And she's like, no, thank you. And so I had the dress repurposed. I had it made into pillows and dresser liners and fun things like that. And one of the things, this is a funny story. One of the things I also did was I had the seamstress that I hired to take apart my wedding dress, make a receiving bag for my daughter for a wedding. You know what a receiving bag is?
Is that like they carry like a little purse? But what do
Yes,
they put in that anyway? I never had one.
envelopes. So I'm really speaking to
That's
my
really
age.
traditional, but nice. It's something that, yeah,
Right.
it's a
But
great thing.
nobody who gets married today, nobody who gets married today is
I've never
walking
seen it.
around with a receiving bag for cards, right?
Yeah.
But when I gave it to her one Christmas, I think it was after the downsize, and she opened it up and she goes, Mom, it's lovely, but what is it? And I said, oh, it's a receiving bag for your wedding. And she looked at me and she goes, I have no
What is
clue what you're
that?
talking about.
Well, you know
And
what?
then
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
and
I'm
then when
sorry.
I explained to her what it was, she's like, don't think I'll
Yeah.
be needing it.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I saw a beautiful baptism at the church, and I could tell it was the woman's wedding dress. The baby had a long skirt,
Wow.
probably down below her knees, the mother's knees, as she's
Right.
holding this baby. And I'm like, that had to be a wedding dress. So those
Beautiful.
are really beautiful things. Okay, I have to ask you something because a lot of people are remarried.
Yep.
They bring a lot of their old stuff into this or things they had. I
Okay.
mean, I have, no offense, but I have wedding books from when I first got married, the first husband. I have all these papers. I have all these things that are in a box, but they're almost too old. They're like, it's like 40 years old now.
Okay.
Um, I know people professionally they take pictures and put them in digitals and then they throw things out.
Mhm.
Which is Grammy. I have a cassettes from when my children, my first marriage, are all from my camera,
Yes.
that were made into CDs, but I still have
Yes.
a box of cassettes because
Yep.
I still have the cassette player. Honestly, I don't know what to do with these things. They're not, it
Right.
probably, what do you do?
So,
It's sentimental in a way,
yeah.
but my daughter
So,
went and made CDs for everybody when we all separated and the
yeah.
whole family kind of found their way,
Yeah.
but I'm still
So
stuck with
what
the
you're
box.
talking about
Yeah.
is memorabilia. You're talking
Mm,
about things that pull on your heartstrings
yeah,
that you're having trouble letting go, even though you understand the logic that, these cassettes have already been transferred to today's media. So
yeah,
the truth is, if I want to see it, I can call it up on a smart TV or whatnot.
right.
But I'm going to use the word struggling. You don't have to struggle. This is choice. This is opinion. This is your own decision. But a lot of people do struggle with letting go of the stuff relative to memorabilia. So the fact that you already transferred it is fantastic. So now there's the choice, because what you need to feel, I'm going to be like a little angel and a devil on your shoulder. And the angel is saying, you can let go of it. It's okay, because if you want it again, it's there. But
Yeah,
simultaneously, the little angel wants to tell you that just because you let the item go does
yeah,
not mean you're letting go of the relationship. It does not mean you're letting go of the memories. But we have a
right.
hard time aging because these are memories. This
Yeah,
is a past wonderful time in
yeah,
our lives.
yeah,
The picture's a great idea. I like to tell people when it comes to memorabilia to create a boundary. So what I mean by that is, for example, when my nanny passed, my nanny was my grandmother and she was 93, and I had the most wonderful relationship with her for my entire life. And I decided, and I could probably go off camera and get it, but there's a beautiful little wooden chest. It's actually underneath her sewing machine, because when my nanny died,
yeah.
my nanny sewed. I don't sew. She's got one of those foot pedal sewing
I know
machines.
what those are.
And
Yeah.
actually, on her deathbed, she said to me, Jean Marie, do you have my sewing machine? I'm like, I
Oh,
do, Nanny.
yeah.
So she passes, and I don't sew. But I'm like, what am I going to do with Nanny sewing machine? So I actually took it to a furniture refinisher. I took the mechanicals out. I had the whole thing redone. And now it's a beautiful piece of furniture that I use in my foyer. Like I turned it into like where the rectangle was that the sewing machine was in. I bought a basket that fits in that insert. So this is
Ah,
like my mail center now. So I
yeah,
repurposed
that's
it.
so beautiful.
So
Yeah.
between that and this wooden chest, the wooden chest is my nanny boundary. So what I mean by that is all of the other trinkets, like her little secrets box of safety pins, her little sewing needles, pictures, her back scratcher, right? This is all nanny. So, but if it fits in that little wooden chest, like that's my boundary in terms of nanny. So
Wonderful. I love
if
that.
if you can create that idea for yourself, what's going to be my memorabilia boundary, you
Mhm.
might even, and you probably, I don't know if you've done this or not, but as somebody is going through downsizing that home where they brought up their children,
Yeah.
they're going to want to create memory boxes, maybe for each one of the children. And then they can go to the children and say, this is what I thought was special, and I'd like for you to have it. But if
Hmm.
you don't want any of it, but can we just take a minute and walk down memory lane? Can I tell you why I thought this was so special and while I saved it for you? Because it really does teach them, what you've been through and why you're giving them something. But what you don't want to do is basically say to them on, your deathbed,
Yeah.
don't ever get rid of the sewing machine or whatever it is.
No,
Uh,
that's a great idea because my kids are both married and they both have babies. And I'm
yeah,
like, it would be great because I've got to go through that basement and there's still stuff from them.
yeah,
I send them boxes every now and then and say, hey, here's your shoe from when you were two or something.
yeah.
But if it was
Yes,
in one big box, maybe they'd get organized because otherwise I'm throwing them one item at a time. It's not
right,
fair.
right.
But we need to get to you because, we're talking everyone about the emotion of getting rid of our things, our possessions, which we can't take with us anyway. I mean, in the real scheme of things. And I will actually say I feel much more peaceful since I've organized this room because I'm in it now doing this video when I would have had to like go like this just to put the zoom down to do this. So, okay, preparing a home for market and profit, that's a really big one too, is getting the pictures off the walls, but you can help people with that to stage the house. Wonderful.
Yeah,
Storage
so
units.
if
Okay.
I just stay on that for one quick minute,
Yeah.
often I get hired, there's sort of like three components to selling a house. I'll
Mhm.
get hired to do the decluttering before it goes on the market, and I can work with somebody's real estate agent, hands down, to get the house prepared however that realtor would like it. And that's usually a humongous process, right? Decluttering the home for staging.
Yeah.
Then once the house sells, often I get hired to project manage the move. And
Mhm.
I'm already very familiar with everything that's in the house, what they want, what they don't want. So then I can project manage the move. And then depending on where they're going geographically, a lot of people will hire me to do what I call the unpack and the organize on the other end, because
Wow.
now the moving truck drops 100 boxes. Their
Yeah.
life has been completely packed up from the last house. How are they going to set up the new house to run efficiently? And you do want to set it up correctly from the get-go, because if you
Mhm.
just let all your friends start throwing things into your closets and your kitchen cabinets and your bathroom vanities, you might not like where it ends up. And somebody could
Mhm.
decide to put the dishes on the other end of the kitchen when your dishwasher was over there.
Oh, I
Uh,
totally get you. Don't let anybody do
yeah,
any of that.
yeah.
They're not
So,
helping you really. You're not.
yeah. So I do a lot of that. So go ahead.
That's really good. Storage units. Oh, that's big too.
Rent a storage unit if it's temporary. And
Okay.
please try to get through the decisions, because people will spend people do spend, that
Yeah.
industry is billions of dollars a
Yeah.
year.
I
And
believe it.
often what happens is somebody just pays that month after month after month. And when they finally get around to cleaning it out, what's actually in the unit has almost no value.
Yeah.
So try very hard to make the decisions up front. And if it doesn't fit in the space, then let it go. Again, unless you're going from one house to another right away, or there's an estate situation.
No, I
But
get you. The storage
people
units could be
waste
out
so
of
much.
mind, out of sight, out of mind. Like
Yeah.
it's like totally. I love all this. So what's the takeaway, and what would you like to say more? Because we've gone into a lot, but give us the jewels of your business and how we can use you.
Okay, so I would say, that I'm all about less clutter, more you. I say that all the time. The more I can help somebody toward a minimal mindset, not that you need to be minimal, I don't mean it that way, but I do very strongly believe less is more, because when there's less stuff and you only have what you truly love, use, and need, you have the space, you have the creativity, you have the freedom. You don't feel
Yeah.
stressed at home. You can go out hiking, dancing, biking, go out and live your life. So you're
Yeah.
not trapped
Mm-hmm.
by the possessions. So I like to say, less clutter, more you.
Right.
And I'm really all about helping people through any challenges they have about trying to get organized or productive, in a very non-judgmental way. And because what it does is the letting go process equals freedom. So I look at it as when people can let go, there's like, I tell some people when I'm working with them one-on-one, at the end of the day, you're going to feel like you lost 100 pounds. And that's
Yeah.
exactly how they feel, like there's been a
Yeah.
catharsis, like an awakening,
Yeah.
because they're unsticking, if you will. They're getting unstuck from their stuff.
Yeah.
Won't twist somebody's arm if they don't want to get rid of something. I'm not getting rid of it. I'm not doing anything behind anybody's back. It
Right.
has to come from them. And I love their input on setting up the new systems. So that's what I would say.
So you're in this area of New Jersey, a little bit of Hudson Valley. How do people find a declutterer in their area? What's the best for
Google,
people
I
across the
mean,
country?
so
People
you
put,
could do professional organizer near me.
mm,
So, for those
okay,
of you who are in Alaska, just Google professional organizer near me. There's a wonderful association called NAPO, which stands for the National Association of Productivity and Organizing Professionals, and it's NAPO.net. You
okay,
could do a zip code search. These are for professionals like myself who believe in our education and, pay to be in this association, called
hmm,
NAPO. And so you can do a zip code search of a NAPO organizer in your area. And those would be the two places where I would start. Of
okay,
course, you can ask friends and family, hey, I'm thinking about working with an organizer. Would you by any chance know of
hmm,
somebody? 20 years ago, people would have looked at you like, what is an organizer? But
yeah,
today, I think,
it's
it's
true.
almost synonymous with professional organizer, stager, virtual assistant. I mean, there's a service for everything now.
Everything,
Yeah.
yeah. So how do we find you, Jean Marie, if we want to reach you in that area that you work?
Yep. So the best thing for me is,
Mm,
I am on the older side. I love the telephone. So my phone number is 201-406-9643.
okay,
And also, as a mature person, I still do plenty of email. So
okay,
my email is JM, which stands for Jean Marie,
hmm,
ampersand at, I'll say it and then I'll spell it. So JM at POSSEpartnersLLC.com. So Posse, Posse, partners plural, Partners, and then LLC for limited liability corporation.com. So JM at POSSEpartnersLLC.com, which means that my website is POSSEpartnersLLC.com.
Well, I'll put this up on the YouTube channel for everyone, and I
Mhm.
also will put this page so people have all this information for you
Okay.
on my Facebook .com caregiver success page. So
Thank
everybody can
you.
look at this because I think we all would feel a lot better. I know I would. As I continue to clean up the space here. Jean Marie, this is wonderful. You helped me a lot, and I thank you for that.
You're
And
welcome.
everybody out there, please check out my other videos. I'm also rebranding my book, Caregiver Success. I do have a chapter on upsizing or downside. I call it upsizing. Like you
Mhm.
can move to a smaller space and it's a beautiful area. My book called Caregiver Success, the same as the YouTube channel. It's coming out. It'll be better, it'll be cheaper, and I'll let you know when it's out. Thank you so much for joining us, and
Thank you, Nancy.
have a
Appreciate
great
it.
day, everyone. And see you at the next video. Bye now. Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.